Are you a chess player and are you struggling to pass 1500 elo? You have to watch this video. In this video I will take you through 5 common mistakes which are made by players below 1500 and even below 2000. The first tip I'm going to share is how to prevent moving too fast or too slow in a certain position. This is one of my games in my Road to 2000 series which I recently played that has not been on my channel yet, but will be in the coming days. One of the problems here is I felt like I was in a good position and I felt like I might have some trick because his bishop and his knight is very oddly placed and I might be able to push on pawns and try to win some pieces. The problem is, however, I couldn't really figure out what the exact way was to do this. And therefore I took a very long time to play the move here, and I took a very long time to eventually come up with a certain idea. In this game I played 10-0, so the problem is I have no increment. If I play too fast in the opening or I play too slow in the opening, the problem is that at a certain point I don't have time anymore to play good moves later on in the game. The winning idea was here to start off with b4. And if he plays bishop b6, which is his only move, you can take the knight, and as soon as he takes with the king, you can push. He has to retreat, and once he does, you can lock on his bishop and win a bishop. This is the critical idea in this position, which wins the game on the spot. However, I didn't find it, and I played queen b3, putting extra pressure on the knight. However, he could simply just either move or push a pawn. I still felt like I was better here, but at this point my time was already down 3 minutes, and as soon as I got further into the game, my time was more and more of an issue because I just kept focusing on the fact that I felt like I was better, but I couldn't really convert it. And I got into time trouble later and eventually lost this game. An example of a game in which I didn't play too slow, but I played too quickly is this one. This is also a game in my Road to 2000 series, which I recently played, which is also coming online in the coming days. The point is here I am up 2 pawns, and my thought process was just, okay, I'm going to trade as many pieces as possible and try to convert this position slowly but surely. Just going to make sure that I don't blunder anything. However, one thing is, if you have only 2 pawns and you play very quickly, you try to trade off pieces very quickly, you have to always be careful that there's not any tricks from your opponent to eventually still win the game, which is something that I did not do very well in this game. I decided to trade rooks here, which is already not a very good move because you always want to keep the open file with your rook. So trading rooks here is not very good because my opponent gets to take the open file, and that just allows a certain counterplay. My opponent decided to play bishop g5 here, and already setting up some nasty tricks here. Where I slipped up is that I played rook e1 here. And in first glance there seems to be not a whole lot of things different or difficult about this position. However, he can take my knight and play bishop d2, already winning a pawn. But it gets even worse because I decided to play rook e2, allowing an eventual check on rook on d1. He took the pawn. I decided to defend this pawn with my a pawn. However, this is a blunder. I thought in this position, if he gives the check, I can simply block with my knight and I'd be fine. But he doesn't only get to block. He doesn't only give the check. He also gives this check with his bishop, and now my king can escape. And the only move I have is to sacrifice my rook. And so I think it comes down to the fact that even though you are up material, even though you want to trade very fast, you have to always be careful that you don't play too quickly and miss certain ideas of your opponent, like this bishop idea by giving these checks here and allowing the open file. I simply gave too much counterplay to my opponent and I gave him chances to come back into the game, which is not good. So there's something you should also keep in mind. Even if you're up material, don't play too quickly. Keep in mind that it can always turn, and be aware of opponent's tricks. The second thing I wanted to give you as a tip this video is preventing your opponent's ideas or preventing your opponent's best moves. In this position, my opponent played bishop g4, and at first glance this move is just fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's equal. It's an equal game, and you can proceed from here on out. However, I made a mistake by going h3, and one of the key ideas here is that this knight is protecting this pawn, and as soon as this pawn is gone, this knight is gone, the pawn is no longer protected by the knight. So my opponent decided to take, I took back with the rook, and now he can simply take this d4 pawn here. And if I take back, he is simply too strong because he can trade queens and go here. Another thing is this pawn is obviously also becoming weak. So I couldn't take back the pawn. I decided to go here. And as you can see, the position got very complicated for me very quickly, all because I decided to play h3 and missed the threat of taking the knight and losing a guard of the d4 pawn. Another clip I wanted to show you in this section of this video is this game right here. This is another game in my Road to 2000 series in which I made a critical blunder that lost me the game. Yeah, it happens to everyone, of course. Everyone is tired sometimes, and chess is a very difficult game. A game in which you have to always be very wary of all the tricks and all the tactical ideas in the position. My opponent decided to take my pawn on e5 here, and after he did, I was already looking at queen d4. The idea of queen d4 was for me to fork these two pieces. I thought he had to move, and then I could play this move. And I thought this was completely winning. However, it is actually, but however, my opponent didn't have to move the rook because my opponent could play knight f3, which is a winning move for him, of course, because my pawn is pinned, I can't take back, and my queen is now officially gone. So yeah, I mean, sometimes in your head you think, okay, I have a winning tactic, I can probably win the game if I play here and here. However, you forgot that your opponent has a counter trick which is better and which wins the queen before you are able to fork him. So yeah, that's the problem. You often skip past the moves of your opponent. I mean, I think everybody does it at a certain point, but it's very crucial even for me to improve in this section and to get better and to prevent mistakes like this, which will hopefully get me to 2000 soon. The third thing I wanted to give you as a tip this video is to prevent playing without a plan. That can be in the opening, the middle game. I mean, sometimes in a game you just play without a plan. Certain openings you might know theory, you might know how to move. However, in this game, sometimes you get out of theory very quickly, which is something that happened in this game. And because we went out of theory very quickly, I kind of tried to improvise here and kind of just tried to play the best moves. However, I got my queen into a very difficult situation very early on, which is very bad, and I didn't really necessarily have a plan. My position got really bad at a certain point. I decided to just trade off here, for example. However, as you can see from this position, for example, my queen is in a very bad place. It's targeted. It's able to be targeted for attack. My bishop is very bad. It doesn't really have any scope. It should, if anything, it should probably be here or maybe even here. My knight is very bad. It can't really move forward. So my position here is already really bad, and I guess the main thing here is I just played without a plan. I improvised in the opening. I didn't know any theory from this point forward. I hadn't been into certain positions very often, and this eventually led to a position in which my queen got stuck, which is yeah, I mean, usually I like to play certain games just freestyling a little bit and finding tactical things later on in the game, trying to win. However, it isn't only about finding tactical wins and isn't only about trying to just survive. Chess is also about building up a good position and going from there. And in this game, I definitely completely did that wrong. I had a very bad position and I never really got a good position after being down. The fourth thing I wanted to show you in this video, which corresponds a lot to the third thing, is that you have to have a game plan, of course, but you also have to have very good piece coordination and activity, which is something that in the last game was also very bad, but in this game it is also very bad. This is one of the games I already showed in a previous section in this video. However, in the remainder of the game, besides the fact that I was focused still on trying to find some sort of trick here and feeling like I was better, never really getting there in the end, there was also a situation here in which I thought I could win a pawn by taking this, by taking his knight and then taking his pawn. I missed that he could take here on h3, which was already very bad, of course. And in the remainder of this game, you can see that my pieces are very bad and they're struggling to get into the game, which is something that you will see. He gets two very deadly bishops, all pointing towards my king side. My pieces are never really joining any attack. I'm simply not doing very well here. And as you can see, in the remainder of this game, it only gets worse and worse. I tried to make it work. However, here I made a critical blunder by going knight e4. And after taking my knight, he can simply take my bishop. And I eventually lost this game. But it's also a very good thing to keep in mind that besides the fact that your pieces should be, you should prevent blunders, you should also really focus on piece activity and try to get some sort of attack. My opponent simply got too much activity in this game. He simply got too strong, his pieces were too well placed, there were all sorts of threats. I had to deal with a lot of threats, which was very hard. Even here, a move like f3 would also probably be very devastating. I might be able to survive after like g3, but in the long run he will bring his rook down, try to attack me, go on and on in on my king side, and simply win the game. So piece activity is a very important concept, which is also very hard to grasp, but something to work on, even for me. And if you get better at it, the elo will also become higher and higher. The last thing I wanted to show you was this game, which is the tip poor time management and decision making. In chess, it's obviously very important to make the right decisions. I mean, every move counts, every move has a purpose. And in this game, I decided to, I made some critical mistakes in the middle game, which eventually lost me the game. The opening here was all just normal, it was all relatively good and nothing really out of the ordinary. However, at a certain point, I decided here to trade off knights and play my knight back, which is already dubious. I mean, this is already not very good. However, a little bit later, I decided to play f6, which is simply a very bad move. The point of f6 was to, if he takes back, I can take back with the knight, and even though my queen is hanging, so I should take the queen first, of course, and then take with the knight. And in this position I thought I was fine. However, there is one problem. He doesn't have to take this pawn. And another very big problem is all the light squares here, which become very weak. So f6 is just simple example of poor decision making. The computer says it's not that bad, and it's okay-ish if you know how to play from there on out. However, I'm not a computer, so practically speaking, this is very difficult to play. And as you can see, later on in the game I decided to take here. He took with the knight. It was all decent up until this point, but at a certain point he got queen g6 in, and my rook being here and then his knight being here is that this is simply a mate threat, and at that point it became very difficult. The move I came up with was rook f6. However, I should have played bishop e4 and or knight e4 actually. If he takes, he can't take back because it's protected, and now this is sort of holdable. However, I decided to play rook f6. I allowed the check, and then he played knight g6 check, and I thought here I could simply escape. However, I forgot that he can take the g7 pawn, of course. So I had a winning chance, or at least a comeback chance, to go here. Which is a funny thing, because I thought he could have played knight e5. However, I can take here, sacrifice my queen, and then win a queen back. And in this position I simply up a piece. So as you can see, poor decision making by playing f6 at a certain point, allowing some checks at a certain point, and now going king d7 led me to lose this game, which is a very important thing in chess. Of course, you have to always be very careful where you go, what you do. Even minor things like stepping a king can be crucial in winning or losing a game. So definitely a lot to get better at, and as you can see, made some mistakes myself too. So the conclusion of this video is probably that you are going to make mistakes. I made mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. However, these 5 tips and improving on these 5 things, trying to get better at them every game and trying to work at them, will 100% constantly improve your chess game and improve your elo. So if you can take any of these tips and try to incorporate them in your own games and try to improve, let me know, and hopefully this can be helpful for you, and hopefully this video has helped you. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Bye.